What I'd like to share in this moment in no way refutes the relative truth of what we're all living, meaning I dropped a note in the mail yesterday for someone that I deeply love. But the deeper message I'm getting in the last few hours from my recent befriendment from death is that as I feel the presence of death closer and closer, and not that I'm going to die, maybe I'm going to die, I don't feel like I'm going to die, but that the teacher called death feels very close and present and powerful right now. And as I'm experiencing death, there's a part of me that wants to suddenly reach out to those I love and be like, hey, I make a big demonstrative statement and be like, hey, I love you. Do you know I love you and how much I love you? And just let it all wash away, so to speak. And another part of me, the other part of me that's, I would say, is more attuned to this new lesson from death is saying that's not necessary. That what I'm strengthening right now is the non-relative field, meaning the open-hearted love I am feeling for the people in my life is reaching them wherever they are, however they are. In the non-relative field, I am instantaneously connected to them, and they know I love them. If they're open to receiving that the love is all instantaneously there. The love I am feeling for them is instantaneously also with them. They may or may not be aware. That's not the point. That's the relative field. And what death is teaching me or is offering me to learn is the non-relative, which is the open-hearted love is instantaneously there for them if they're in the receiving place for it. And that's big for me. I can be someone who not only wants to be demonstrative in my love, but also wants others to be demonstrative in their love. And so to just rest back and know that if they wish to receive it in this instant, they can feel all the love I have for them. And the other message is sort of one of, I would call it clinging. There's part of me that wants to hold on to them, hold on to these people I love so much and hold dear. And what I'm feeling from death is you can't hold on to them. You don't get to hold on to them. They're not yours, never have been yours, never will be yours. They're not something to hold on to. That it just is, like we just are. And there won't be any holding on to anything when death comes. So those are the two kind of powerful messages or experiences of this moment. And they're quite beautiful, very profound. And I think, I'm hoping, wasn't planning this, again, this is just kind of happening, but I'm seeing the ways that it can transform my relationships with myself and with others, in trusting in that non-relative field more. That when I am in a place where I have the open-hearted participation of love, and I am offering that to those I love, that it can and is received instantaneously by those who are also in a space to do that. And also that not only do I not need to hold on tightly to them with my love, but that I can't. And it isn't, not only is it not possible, it isn't necessary. It isn't, why should I hold on to something that I could instantaneously share my love with? there would be no need to hold on. So, that hits, I'm sure you can hear it in my voice, but that hits pretty deep. I've always wanted to hold on to those I love so tightly. I don't want to lose them. And my children, especially, have taught me that's not possible. It's not best for them. It's not best for me. And also, that doesn't negate the power of love, this instantaneous bond I have with them and will always have. Isn't that interesting that there is and will always be this instantaneous bond of love, even though I can't hold on? I can't hold on to it, but it is always there. That's definitely a realigning of sort of my network of understanding of love and life and death and this whole experience. So this is one of those moments I wanted to capture in the moment, hopefully conveying through words and through vibration and through sound the fullness and the richness of this lesson from death. So, thank you.
I'd like to share a few thoughts that I've been having in the last few hours, and also having just completed a meditation session. What's really been coming up for me is physically, like just this sort of this pressure in my chest that feels like a hurt, and also a sadness. I haven't understood it. I don't know if I still do, but emotionally and mentally, I guess I've covered the emotional part. Mentally, what's been coming up is how do you finish the race when it isn't going to be, when it can never be what you thought it would be? And I'm just finding these words. I don't know, maybe it's too soon to record this. I try to capture things in the moment. I feel like there's a power to that, but there's also it requires me to bumble around a bit. But maybe there's something about the process. Learning, I do think it's powerful to not see the end product, but to learn the process by seeing, experiencing, witnessing someone else in their process. So even though I feel a little bit like a bumbler right now, maybe there's more power in this than I realize. Anyway, let me see if I can pull all these. There's so many threads to pull together. So the first one is, I was recently watching someone in a race, the Tour de France, and something happened in one of the stages, and what that person set out to do is now no longer possible. But there are many stages left in the race, and my heart just really, it's been like 12 hours, and my heart just keeps going out to this person. I don't know this person, right? This is someone but my heart just keeps going out, and I just have felt like this deep sadness and hurt for them. And I realized this morning when I got done meditating, it's really one of the most powerful questions, in that how do you go on? How do you finish the race when everything you've worked for is no longer possible? And I think that's a fair question for so many people in life. So I set out, I can still feel myself, this young 25, 26-year-old, starting a family and a career and life and all the ways that it was going to go. And of course things have happened along the way so that it did not go that way at all. Whether that's divorce or illness or rape or so many things. I haven't experienced, everything there is to experience, but certainly cancer is a big factor in so many lives. All different kinds of illnesses. I'm thinking of all the people, a woman that was recently in my office getting stuff for her student who's struggling severely with mental health issues, and just broke my heart. And then another friend last night sharing her issues, her stories, just suddenly randomly, her issues with sexual violence. And then another woman sharing her trials with cancer. And so here we are all in this, I say race. I don't really think it's a race, but let's say we're in this race called life, and we started out and it was going to go a certain way, and now it's not. What do you do? What do you do? And I know I can give you all the nice quotes, but when you sit and down alone with yourself, if you go sit in your closet with your clothes where it's dark and quiet in this little space, and you say, how do I finish the race when it isn't going to be what I hoped or what I thought? I know I'm going to finish my race, my life, and I do believe I'll finish it well. Not sure what that means other than I've learned a lot. But in this moment, I don't want to rush off and just do that. I want to consider, what does it mean to let the ones who can't finish the race die. And I mean, it's interesting, I guess I mean both other people and the ones within me. There are some people who aren't going to be able to finish the race with us, and they're going to die along the way for so many reasons. Some of those deaths may be actual physical deaths. Some of them may die mentally along the way. Some may die emotionally and just become rigid and frozen. Some may die spiritually. So many different types of deaths, but I'm also talking about the deaths inside of me. The woman, the 25, 26-year-old with her heart on her sleeve and just the biggest, brightest eyes of hope and belief, and I love her dearly. And there's still parts of her here, but there's definitely parts of that woman that have died. And I feel in me that there are parts even now that it's time to let them die. And I couldn't identify them, I couldn't tell you what, but just that their time has come. I think it's respectful to pause at times like this and just look around, at the race we're running, and consider all the angles and all the possibilities. And it's funny because I talk a lot about this infinite, unbounded potential within each of us, and I 100% believe that. at the same time, I also believe, or at least in my life, I've experienced that I'm called in certain ways. Meaning, there are times when I can feel this infinite, unbounded potential within me, and that I could become or be, anything I chose. But, okay, well, I don't know. Let's leave it at that. At the same time, I feel very called to go in certain directions. And which sort of limits the possibilities, right? You can't be everyone and everything in one lifetime. And so I'm considering, of all the possibilities in this moment and all the directions I could possibly go, I feel like there's both a choice and a calling. Meaning I have some choices to make. Maybe how I get there, the manner in which I get where I'm going. But that there is there's some sort of places that I will, time and place, and I will have certain scheduled meetings that we've committed to, so to speak. Which I don't really know what I believe in fate or karma, but I do know I feel maybe destiny, that there are some moments of destiny to be played out in my lifetime. And for me to move toward those and play those out to the best of my ability will require me to be different than I am today. And different enough that it feels like there's some little deaths within me that will guide me to where I need to go. It was interesting when I was talking to the woman last night. We were just at this sweet little summer garden party, and she happened to come over, and I don't know her well, and started talking to me, and she had just learned there at the evening soiree that I had a trial going on for my rape, and started asking me some questions about it. And it was interesting because she was in what I would call the pros and cons place. And I remember that place where I sat and I was the pros and cons of reporting my rape. And I would say I was in that for years. And it was always the pro. There were no pros. It was just all cons. It was just all cons. There was no reason to report it. And so I didn't. There was just... And then there came a day where it didn't matter what I wanted. It didn't matter what the pros and cons were. It didn't matter what happened. I needed to report my rape. That was it. I need to report my rape. And this is what I'm talking about. It was this moment of destiny where time and place and I met and we had a commitment. I needed to report my rape. And so I did. And it wasn't what I wanted to do. It wasn't because I thought it was a great idea. It wasn't because the pros and cons lined up. It was, this is what I feel called to do. This is the calling of this moment. And I hear it. I can't ignore it. I did it. So when she started telling me kind of the pros and cons of her situation, I listened for a moment, and then I said, I just don't think it's relevant. And I said, in my experience, that wasn't what got me, that I had to put all that aside. And I just had to do what I felt called to do. And I could see kind of this shocked look on her face, and she just sat there quietly for a moment. And then she said, I'd never thought of it that way. And I just said, I don't know what you should do. I said, nobody knows what you should do, and you might not even know either, but I would start with, what do I feel called to do? I don't think we can base our decisions on what we want to do. So many things in life aren't what we want to do. And I think pros and cons lists are great, 100%. They at least let you address, at least let you look at the situation you're about to step into, if that's the one you need to. I think there are powerful pulls in our life, which doesn't mean they're in charge. I don't know. I think there are some moments of destiny in all of our lives. I don't know, maybe every single moment is, and I just don't realize it, but definitely seems in my life I've been pulled to people, places, events, whatever, that totally changed the trajectory of my life. And I feel like this is one of those. And I think what I've never realized about them is that in order to change the trajectory of my life, parts of me will have to die. And I don't know if I've ever learned to grieve the loss of parts of myself. I think I've always fought it. And there's no fighting death. There's no fighting death. And so I'm taking this moment this morning to feel the loss and appreciate those parts of me that got me here. It reminds me, I heard someone talking about if they went back and talked to their younger self, what they would say. And they said, I would tell them, thank you so much for being exactly who you are, so that I could become who I am. And I guess that's what I want to tell all the parts of me that aren't able to continue this journey. Thank you so much for being who you are, so I could be who I am today and become who I'm becoming. I have such humility again. I'm humbled again before this next teacher, which is death, and so in awe of the grace and the kindness and the gentleness of the lessons. I would never have thought the lessons from death could be so gentle and so deep, but with such grace. So just deeply touched by these last, going on a week, I guess, these lessons with death, and so appreciate the touch of death on my life. And in case you're wondering, I often record my podcast in different places, and I don't always know why. I just feel called to go sit somewhere. This is the first time I've ever done this, and I have to say I quite enjoyed it. I am literally like huddled in the bottom of my closet with my clothes, where it's dark and it's quiet, and it feels very cocoon-like, coffin-like, womb-like. So I highly suggest a few moments in your closet with your clothes. It's more beautiful maybe than you think. I'd like to say that I'm ready to wrap up all of my lessons with death and put them in a tidy little package with a numbered or bulleted list of what you could expect, or what death is, and
I couldn't be farther from the truth. I've learned many things in the last few days as I continue to feel the beck and call of death. I often don't recognize death for what it is. I've confused it with many other things. I had an interesting moment this morning where I don't know how to describe it, but energetically it was like the right side of my body needed or wanted to turn off. And as I felt that happening, I became more aware of the left side of my body, and I could feel a certain weakness in it, but not that it was weak, but that it hasn't been used, hasn't been called upon, hasn't been willing. And not that it's not there and it's not ready, but that there's definitely been an imbalance between the right half of my body and the left half of my body. This doesn't surprise me. For many years now, I've realized like the left half of my body was like my arm didn't quite work right, my leg, my left arm, my left leg, my left hip. You know, even sometimes I could feel a difference in my rib cage. That may seem strange, but I'm attuned enough and active enough with my body that I notice those differences quite easily. So this morning, as I was feeling the discrepancy between the two sides, and the right side was basically saying kind of like, okay, enough, like we've held us up long enough. It's time for the left side to kind of really come online and bring about the balance that's needed. And as I felt that, I felt this interesting sort of dichotomy within me. And it's one I've known about for, I think I really became aware of it around the time of my divorce, so 15 plus years ago. It was even before that. It was when I was married, easily. I think I was probably into my 20s. It's probably been 3 decades. That I have this, what feels like to me, sort of like these extreme natures or poles about me. So there's this part of me that is so joyful, so free-spirited, so easygoing, so naturally effusive and engaging and effervescent, and people will see that side of me and just be like, wow, you bring so much joy and so much goodness and so much, it's just amazing, what you bring into my life, what you bring into the world. And that is definitely a natural part of me, and I love that part of me. And then there's another part of me that's very serious, contemplative. Withdrawn might not quite be the right word, but people on the outside might see it that way. Can be very dispirited at times, despondent, morose. I hate to say it, but and that is also another side of me. I don't get as many kudos for that one, but also I don't show that one as much anymore. I do on the podcast, but I don't show that part to many people in my life. Because it doesn't receive the accolades that the other side does. So when I go back to what I was talking about, the right and left sides of my body, and sort of it called the body asking for and drawing together and bringing about the balance, I realized that it's not even an external balance, that it's an internal one. And what's being asked of me internally is to really let both of those sides of me have equal merit, have equal value, have equal honor and respect, and give them both a place at the table, and to let me be both. I believed that as I came more and more into myself, that I would just be the joyful, effervescent, effusive, sort of wonderful one. And I'm finding that that's not true. And yet that one is becoming quite strong and wonderful and very powerful in its own right. But it's as I let the other one also have its equal say and merit and attention and place in my life that the joy also grows. So it's been interesting for me to sort of allow all of me, and in the allowing of all of me grows. And I see the time and place for all things, the time and place for all things. And how does this bring me to death? Well, I had a powerful moment this morning where, as I was allowing that balance to happen, where I am both of these halves, and they are my whole. And as I really energetically, mentally, emotionally embraced the truth of that, there was a powerful moment where I felt death again. And it was like the old me dying to what I thought I was going to become. And in that moment, everything fell away. It was like the energy of death sort of just cleared it, was just gone. Like who I was in the past, who I might be in the future, who I thought I even was right now. It was just like an immediate clearing. And I would say I sort of dropped, death sort of dropped me from where I thought I was to where I actually was. And I found myself so present. I happened to be in my car at the moment, and something in me was like, I am right here in this car driving down the road, and this is who I am. This is who I am. And I thought that's so interesting that death just kind of dropped me into the moment. Literally just dropped me into the exact precise moment where I was living, where I was alive. And I think that is the greatest. I think that's what death always does. I think death always drops us into the immediacy of the moment, the truth of the moment. And that can be hard because I have so many dreams and desires and expectations for myself and life and others, that being dropped into the moment that I'm actually alive is often not where I want to be or thought I would be. So what's so interesting to me about all this is that all the lessons I'm learning, all the ways that I'm learning, they always bring me back to the same place. And it's interesting because it's nothing new. Nothing new. And yet it's nothing difficult to comprehend or understand. And yet it seems to be one of the most challenging asks of a human being. And that is to be alive and present in each moment. To be present in each moment, to the moment as it is. I mean, how many books have been written, or stories have been written, or everything is be present in the moment. So death continues to drop me into the immediacy of each moment, drops me into myself as I am. And the interesting thing is that death has as it does this repeatedly, there's always such beauty. And that also surprises me. Death has always been a little bit tragic to me, whether it's my own death, my own little death, someone else's death, the end of some phase in my life, all those things. And it no longer holds that same energy for me. Not that there isn't grief or loss or a deep aching sorrow, but somehow it's accompanied by beauty. That there is a beauty in death, in the dropping into the presence and the immediacy of the moment, and seeing it for what it is and allowing it to be whole and full. And it's not even allowing it to be whole and full, but I'm able to experience it as whole and full. And that, I think, is the beauty, is being able to experience the wholeness and the fullness of life because of death. Because of death. I don't know, as of this moment, I don't know of a greater teacher. So I think this will wrap up my current intense learning with death. It's certainly not even close. I'm sure I'm just beginning, and there'll be much more, but I have in the last week, my interlude with death has completely changed my experience of death, my understanding of death, my relationship with death. And also with time and space, with myself, and somewhat with others. So I hope in all this, I am sure I have so much more to learn. I hope in all this, what I've gained is less fear. I hope that when I see or feel the presence of death in my life, whether that's going to be one of my internal deaths or the death of some thing in my life, some phase, and even people, I can't even imagine. I hate to even say that, but in my own death, but that when I feel the approach of death, that I might be less fearful. I'm sure it will still take my breath away, but that I might fall a little more gracefully into each new death, each new moment, each new experience, as the old ones die away, fall away. And I might receive the wholeness and the fullness of each moment. That is what I, would like to think I might be able to do. Maybe not tomorrow. But something I hope to work for, because the beauty of being wholly and fully present is breathtaking, is inspiring, is life. So to die is to live, and to live is to die. Never one without the other. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and that in whatever way you're able, you find yourself present in the immediacy of the moment, in its wholeness and its fullness. Have a beautiful day.